Hello and welcome to Apostolic Children's Ministry Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Apostolic Children's Ministry Podcast. And this episode is going to be very different than normal because I'm currently out of town for junior camp. So I wasn't home this past Sunday, so I had to tag in remotely with our team to get their victories and bloopers. I hate missing Sunday at home, but just unavoidable. I was at a wedding for Brother Benjamin Copeland. By the way, congratulations to both brother and sister Benjamin Copeland. But our team at home, of course, they were incredible. They don't need me there. They probably are better without me. But I'm piecing this episode together, and I recorded some parts before I left. I'm in a camp dorm right now recording this intro. My daughter was super kind. She stepped in and wrote up those bloopers and victories from home and recorded those and sent them to me. I'm also going to be putting a few of those from this trip in here as well. So yeah, it's got a little bit different, but hopefully it's still going to be helpful to somebody. But as always, we're proud to be part of the Apostolic Podcast Network, and you can check that out at apostolicsundayschool.com/APN. And today I want to focus on another awesome podcast. It's called the Sunday School Minute with Brother Eric Stender, and I've known him for a while. We, I think, met the first time, at least the first memory, was at the Midwest Junior Camp. And then at Summit, we really connected last year, and we've been getting closer ever since. And he and his wife are doing incredible things in Huntington, Indiana. And he's focused. He's ridiculously talented. Been such a blessing, both, of course, to his local church, but to the apostolic movement as a whole. He is now helping with our curriculum writing team. He is part of the Spark magazine, doing a ton of incredible work with his podcast, the Sunday School Minute. It's short, to the point, and it's just full of gold. You got to check it out. In the latest episode, he was actually playing back a recording that he and his wife did at a church leadership conference about bus ministry, and it is so good. And I shared it with our whole bus team through our chat because I wanted them to feel the burden of what they taught about. It was just so good. So if you're involved in children's ministry in any way, listen to the podcast. It's full of practical tips, creative ideas, stories that will help you grow, inspire your team. Just search for Eric Stender, Sunday School Minute on any podcast platform and you'll find it. But let's get into the podcast. Here's this week's slightly patched together, but hopefully still not horrible episode. Hope you guys enjoy.
Well, boy, I think it's time for a dad joke.
So my boss was really honest with me today. He pulls up to work in this sweet new car, and I compliment him, man, that is a fine looking ride. And he said, well, let me tell you, if you work hard, if you stay determined, if you put in long hours, next year, I could probably even buy a better one.
Okay, and now it is time for the blooper segment. So let's just get started with the toddler class. The first blooper was that one of the teachers got confused and brought the wrong snack. And so instead of having a snack to do with the story of Ruth, there was something to do with Pentecost Sunday. It was hot Cheetos for the fire of Pentecost Sunday. The other blooper for the toddler class was that the craft printed really small. They couldn't thread the ribbon through to make a little bookmark. And so they just had to glue it to the outside, but they just had to adapt. And then for our super class, there was one of the younger boys who during the seam skit with the Dark Tempter and the Apprentice jumped up and was yelling at one of the teachers who was playing the Dark Tempter and was yelling, "Liar, liar, don't listen to her, she's lying," in middle class. It was not planned at all, but it did fit very well. So I guess it's kind of a victory within a blooper. And then the girls 10 to 11 class, there was a moment during the wrap up for the final lesson where we were trying to get the speaker working, and the teacher who was connected to Bluetooth had stepped out. So we were trying to get it reconnected to one of our phones to play music, like some type of soft ultra music. And right as she's finishing up, I hear the sound that it's connected, and I just push play on the speaker expecting, cool, I already have the song ready to go on my phone. It's just going to play it. But absolutely not. No, it started playing the song Jammies by Go Fish, blasting right before altar call. So that one was pretty hard to recover from. Those are our bloopers for this week.
All right, now let's talk about some out-of-town bloopers. So this was the first night of junior camp here in Coleman, Alabama, and as is tradition, things always go wrong. Even in all the good things, there's always something to go wrong. And so we don't want to sugarcoat this and make it sound like everything is just all roses and rainbows. So we had everything lined up. Sound was tested. Everything was double-checked. So we kicked off the service, And one of the things I do to sometimes just break the ice, especially at a new camp or something, is the flaming torch, where you pretend to eat fire and then it turns into a magic Christian illusion wand. But here's the problem. I had everything ready, except I didn't have a lighter. It's a little bit important when you're trying to light something on fire. And you can't really fly with one unless you want to, have TSA be your buddy. And so I was trying to be careful and not pack it. I was supposed to pick up one here and totally spaced out. And never happened. So there I am. I have the torch ready. I even have the lighter fluid on it and nothing to light it. Thankfully, Brother Brantley, who I'm going to talk about in a minute in the Victory section, he jumped into action and he started hunting for a lighter for me. And believe it or not, there was actually a lady at camp, one of the staff, this blows my mind, that had a lighter in her purse, like a barbecue lighter in her purse. Reasons unknown, who knows, but thank God that she had it. But of course, by the time we realized she had one, we had already moved to something else temporarily while they found that. They had it immediately. So that leads me to blooper number 2. So right after that, we switched to the action song, which we had rehearsed, gone over it, made sure that the sound and playback and everything worked perfect. And when they hit play during service, it was just a disaster. The music was so choppy. It kept cutting out every couple of seconds. It was absolutely impossible to sing to. We stopped. We tried restarting a couple times. We tried doing something else for a little bit and coming back to it. Turns out, apparently, there was a phone that was sitting too close to the computer. And I don't know how this happened, but somehow it interfered with the Bluetooth signal. But as soon as they removed it, they didn't even know that was the problem. They just moved it for something else and it fixed the problem immediately. The song played fine after that. So yeah, back-to-back hiccups to start off the service, to start off the junior camp. Yay. Well, nothing ever goes exactly as planned, but that's, of course, children's ministry for you. And you got to roll with it, just laugh and keep going.
And now we are on to our victory segment about something good that happened in our Sunday school this week. In the toddler class, we were teaching about loyalty. And the teacher who was doing the final lesson was talking about how loyalty is, like, she was using different things to represent loyalty, like paper, and she was trying to lift a dumbbell with it, and it just didn't work, and it kept on not working until she got to the final paper, and she was talking about how this paper was like a friend that prays for his friends and with their friends, and one of the kids immediately said, "Oh, that one's for sure gonna work," as soon as it was mentioned that that was the friend that prayed for their friends. And it was just such a cute moment, knowing that even our toddlers are understanding this.
And now for the out-of-town victory. Well, it's really just a moment to appreciate all the incredible people that God has in his kingdom. Because one of the best parts of traveling is meeting people that are just all in for children's ministry, that are so just passionate and creative, and they're just incredible people. And one of those people that I have met this week, now I've met him before, but I didn't realize just what an incredible man he was in children's ministry until this week, is Brother Robert Brantley. And he's over the junior camp here in Coleman, Alabama, which just kicked off this year. It's a brand new, fresh camp. They just started it. And he is pouring himself into it. He's like the Energizer Bunny in human form. He's always smiling somehow, but always working, doing everything he can to make his success. He's not doing it alone. There's a whole team of staff that are working so hard behind the scenes and making all this happen. There's just so much involved in starting a camp, but it's been so smooth and so much fun. And you can just see the heartbeat that they have in everything they do. But what's cool is it's not just here. Everywhere we go, we find people that care as much as we do about reaching the kids of our communities and kids of our world. Every single church we visit, there's somebody that is just absolutely sold out, and they're so good at what they do. And like Brother Bradshaw says later in this, in an interview at the end of this podcast, sometimes you can feel a little isolated and think like you're the only one that's fired up about children's ministry. That is absolutely not the case. If you go to a conference like the SEC Children's Ministry Conference that we just had, or the one coming up in Union, Tennessee in October, drop in on some kid events, go to different churches that are having revivals, of course, with your pastor's blessing, all that. Hopefully I don't need to reiterate that, but you'll see it for yourself. There are so many like-minded people out there. Go to Summit. You're going to connect with the cream of the crop in children's ministry in the Apostolic movement. Go to Summit in September, the first week, and you're going to realize just how incredible the kingdom of God is. You're going to leave inspired. At this SEC conference, I reconnected with Brother Garcia from Fresno and was just blown away by someone that I had known as a young person. But now I just realized what an incredible man he has become, his energy and excitement for all things children's ministry. Same with the incredible people from Paramount, California, Bakersfield. Of course, we know them, but man, when you see them in action, it just takes it next level. Because God has good people everywhere. And that's my victory for this week. The kingdom is full of incredible people doing the work of God. And I'm excited about that.
All right. Well, I have two of my very good friends here. I have Brother Chris and Sister not Samantha, but Sam Bradshaw.
Thanks for having us.
And I know that's her name because I listened to their podcast.
Yes, sir.
In fact, I think this might be a good way to introduce you guys. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your podcast?
Cool.
Go for it.
So I've actually, you guys, and by you guys, I mean you, Brother Gabe Baker, Brother Jason Ashley, y'all were riding my case about starting a podcast. So we decided that we were going to do it, and we've been saying we were going to do it for a while, and then we finally just pulled the trigger and did it at the beginning of this year. And I started off with just me, and then my lovely wife actually joined me as a co-host, so it's kind of nice.
Well, I think I started off with you, but I didn't get announced as co-host till like session 6.
Oh, no, I was following that avidly. So there was so much tension. When is he?
Sure.
No, I'm kidding. There was no tension at all.
I'm sure.
They keep on saying there's going to be a takeover, but
Yeah.
Sister Bradshaw can't run the equipment. So.
It's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time, especially when you go to the new version of what we're running here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what he keeps telling me. He's like, once I switch over to the other equipment, you'll be
plug
able
and
to.
play.
You
Yep.
hit one button. So I think last podcast I actually introduced, or maybe it was 2 ago. I get so lost in these podcasts. I feel like it was last week and it ended up being 3 weeks ago.
I feel that.
But I pushed your guys' podcast because I love it. I believe in it. It's awesome. And I didn't throw you under the bus.
No, I heard
But
it.
I said
Yeah.
his work schedule does interfere, so that would be awesome if when he's working,
There you
his
go.
new co-host steps in.
Well, we're
and your
hoping-
co-host, but I'm solo today, or I brought so-and-so.
Yeah, we're hoping to be able to record enough ahead, though, that if that happens, we can just drop one. So, but if you listen to the last podcast, we totally had to delete that last podcast.
I heard a little bit about that.
It was great.
So I'm seeing a little bit of evolution here. It was Brother Bradshaw's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of sat in. Then you became co-host. Then you're going to run solo. Now he's going to become your co-host.
Yes.
Is what it's going to be the Sam Bradshaw podcast.
Oh, that's great.
But no,
you just
we love
never
you
know
all.
what'll happen.
You never know. You
I
never
didn't
know.
think I'd be on a podcast, so here we go.
There you go. But no, we love you guys. We have got to know each other back in, oh man, it had to be 2018, 19.
It was 18. The first time I met you, it was actually kind of funny because Pastor Dwayne came to me and he was like, "Hey, I've got to go do not I got to go, but you know what I mean. I'm going to go do a camp in the mountains for Brother Booker, and I do not want to go alone. My family can't go. Would you be willing to go with me?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So I think with like 2 weeks' notice, I bought plane tickets, and 2 weeks later, I was in California, and I got to meet you, hang out with you. I still have the picture of the very first night we met.
That was
crazy.
a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
And then the next year you came back. I believe it was 2 years in a row, right?
Yeah, it was,
Yes.
and I brought Phillip with me that time. Phillip, my
That's right.
son, not you, but I brought Phillip with me.
Right?
Philip
Also
met
2
Philip.
L's?
Yes.
Also 2 L's. Yep.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of talking about how we distinguish which Philip we're talking to, because it's
You can't
both.
even say Philip B.
Yeah, because they're
Yeah.
both Philip B.
It's
Yeah.
too funny.
and 2 L's.
As they say,
that's
ambiguity
great.
is the devil's volleyball.
Oh, bro, you ain't lying.
Well, let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
How did the two of you become first involved in children's ministry? I know Brother Bradshaw started way ago in single-digit years, if I remember right.
Yes. Yeah, so
Go for it.
me, it actually started when I was a kid. I was riding the Sunday school bus with Brother and Sister Bufford, who actually had...
Is this as a writer or a helper?
This was as a helper.
Okay.
Yeah. So I lived in Vandalia, Missouri at the time. They were running a bus in Louisiana, Missouri.
About 30 minutes.
Yeah, about 30 minutes away from us. A river town, sits right on the Mississippi. They were doing a Spanish ministry in Louisiana, and so I actually started riding the bus as a helper with them, knocking doors with them, and that's how I first started in bus ministry itself, and we pretty much just stayed on it the entire time. We had to shift our focus, from time to time. You know what that's like. You get busy doing other things for the church, so you have to prioritize one thing over another. But then Sister Bradshaw and her family started attending church with us, and we actually moved from children's ministry. We were actually over the teens with a couple other family members. Not just family members, but a couple other church members.
Yes, it was 3 couples, and we did youth until we moved to Union City.
Yep.
If we go back to childhood, my mom was a Sunday school teacher and the Sunday school superintendent for a while, and so we got all of her lessons practiced on us. And I've often wondered if I was in trouble enough to like know what was going on in her class, or if she just practiced on us that much. But it's still a little unclear where that line's at. So we grew up around it. Then, of course, like he said, we moved to Vandalia, and we worked in youth. And the last probably 6 to 8 months I was in Vandalia, I became a Sunday school teacher.
Yes.
Probably ages, I think it was like 7 to 10, somewhere in that age frame. And then we were called to move to Union City, and I joined him, I believe, 2018, 2019.
Yep.
But you mentioned shifting of focus. It doesn't, just because your focus shift doesn't mean you stop believing in what you left.
Correct.
Right.
So, I was over our bus ministry initially, and that was what really, I taught Sunday school before bus ministry, but bus ministry is what bit me hard.
Right.
It got me absolutely convinced that children's ministry is not just a valid form of soul winning, but one of the most effective methods of soul winning.
It really
Absolutely.
is.
And I buried myself in it. I was obsessed, absolutely obsessed. It was all I could think about. It was everything. I still taught Sunday school, but it was not the focus, not even close. Well, over time, the focus started shifting, some of it out of delegation by the pastor.
Right.
And then finally my dad made it official. He said, hey, I need you to take over Sunday school.
Necessity.
And at that time, I talked to somebody else that was coming up. I said, if I do this, you know how much I believe in this bus ministry. Don't you dare let this die.
Yes.
Right.
But shifting to Sunday school. But now Sunday school has the same focus and obsession.
Yes.
But I don't believe in bus ministry any less.
Right. Correct.
And so I just want people out there to realize that you can shift.
You can.
Without losing the love and passion
Yes.
for something, even though you don't have the time for it.
I will say I felt half backslid though. First.
I'm with you. Go
Yeah, yeah. And I wear too many hats, and I do not want to wear so many hats that I'm doing everything poorly, and so I have to focus on the things that other people necessarily can't do.
Yep.
And so I have to focus on those because other people can go drive a bus. Other people can go be a bus monitor. And I can still do those things, but the things that they necessarily can't do, I had to shift my focus to that. So
I think this is important because there's a lot of young people that I see that are doing a little bit of everything.
yes.
And I don't think that's a bad thing for a young person
Right.
that's coming up, because you got to try stuff and see what
Find what
gets a hold of
sticks.
you. Yeah, exactly. But I think if you're still doing that 10 years later,
Yes.
but you haven't really been bit by anything or focused on something, I think maybe that's now distraction. You know,
Right.
I don't feel like that's super healthy.
Yes.
But as far as a young person, man, I say it all the time. Try on enough coats and you'll find one that fits.
Absolutely.
You don't try them on, you'll never know.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to start using that. What I usually say is throw enough mud on the wall, eventually some will start to stick.
however you say it, it's the same concept.
Same effect.
But I think there will come a time
Yes.
that something will say, ooh, that's it.
Right.
That's it. And it will start taking more and more of your focus. And usually it just kind of happens. It's not anything you force.
Yeah, it's
over
usually
time,
natural and
it
just a
happens.
natural process.
Yeah, this
Yep.
happens.
So what is your main focus in children's ministry now in Union City?
Children's church is mine. And she is,
Oh, children's church, I delegate and coordinate that, but I'm head teacher over my room,
yes.
and I'm also behind the drive to do future leaders.
Right.
So was there a specific moment when you knew this is it? Flash.
So for me, yes, absolutely. As I previously mentioned, I've done bus ministry, and then after bus ministry, we did teen ministry, and then we moved to Union City, Tennessee. My grandpa retired from Passion Church in northern Missouri. We moved to Union City, Tennessee, fell in love with the Uzzles, and then at the time, now Pastor Dwayne Uzzle was actually transitioning into the role of associate. He was already preaching and helping Pastor Billy Uzzle out at the time, now our bishop. But he was doing children's church, and he was like, bro, I would love for you to come help me. And so I was like, man, I'd love to come help you. I'd love to teach with object lesson stuff. And he goes, get a lesson together and then come help me. And so we went in together. He taught his lesson, and he had me teach my lesson. And then we had altar call, and it was an altar call like we had Friday night, kind of altar call, where it was just like boom. The room was just wow. You know what I'm saying? The Holy Ghost, the anointing was there. And it was at that moment that it happened for me. I was like, whoa. You know, this is more than just, we say it all the time, babysitting, but it became so real to me in that moment that I can make a difference in a child's life.
It's incredible. How about you?
Oh, goodness. So moving to Union City, we had very small children. We had 3 under 3. So I didn't get into children's ministry near as fast, although I did ride bus for probably a year.
That's
and
a
we
phrase
loved
that will
it.
put chills up your spine. Did you say 3 under 3?
Yes, that is correct.
There's 29 months between our oldest.
There's a 29-month gap between Phillip and Blake, and so we have Kylie in the middle.
Yes. So we
3 under 3.
relocated with not the previous support system we had.
Yes.
So I still worked a lot at the church because my heart, like we were raised that you find something to do, but that looked a lot like mopping floors and
Which is still a ministry.
doing props behind the scenes,
Somebody
things I
has
could
to do
do
it.
with my small kids. It was still a lot, but stuff that my little kids weren't interfering
Right.
with. So for kids ministry, I think I was asked to come in about, I want to say 2017, 2018 as a substitute. And then when pastor started handing it over to Chris to do children's church, I think we did like 1 or 2 where we did every other month, and I would come in on his month. And then it went to him, so I went in every month. And we talked a little bit on our previous podcast about how I was praying for something to do.
Right.
So then my prayer transitioned to, how can I help him do this ministry? And then I'd say we got to go to Summit 2019. I moved into Sunday school in 2020, right after I had Vonna. And sometime between 2020 and 2021, my prayer shifted from how can I help him to, Lord, please give me this burden. And it's definitely become part of me. Like,
Yep.
I can't say the exact moment, but definitely, I guess when I moved into Sunday school, I wanted to know their names. I wanted to connect. I would be on a bus if I absolutely could, but it's just not possible. Like, it's me.
I get it.
I can't even fathom even 3 years ago dressing up for Sunday school all the time. But now I feel totally backwards if I have
If
to
you're
dress
not.
up in grown-up clothes for Sunday morning. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I think it's interesting because for most people that I've talked to, there was never that lightning bolt moment. There is occasionally. There are
Right.
some people that just like they knew. But most of the time, like James Pelletier, I think he said he kind of oops his way into it, helped somebody, and here he is 25 years later looking back going, what happened?
Right.
How did I get sucked in so deep? And now it's his life.
Yeah.
But for some people, there is that moment. And I was looking back because sometimes, if I have to say how I got into it, it's just such an evolving process. I can't point to a moment. But there is a key spot that I can point to and say that's when my life changed.
Begin to turn.
Well, we knocked doors. I had never brought anybody to church in my entire life.
Really?
I had knocked thousands of doors, and I had never been able to bring someone to church.
That's crazy.
Now, where we were raised in the Central Coast, it's a retirement community more than anything. People don't want to be bugged. Don't leave. Don't knock on my door. Leave me alone.
No
They're very-
soliciting
Right.
signs, right?
Yeah, it's just really tough. And I was young, so we're growing up, 8, 10-year-old, then teens, moved when we were probably 18 down to here to Rialto. Here they're much more receptive. So we went out and did outreach. And I don't know if it was a God thing, like, no, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. But we knocked doors. I was with people they would invite and bring them, but when I would invite them, they wouldn't come. They never came. I would
Give you a complex almost.
So 0. I was 20-something, never brought one person to church, right?
Wow.
I'm not proud of this, but they're leading to that moment until I did bus ministry. The first Saturday I ever did bus ministry, we knocked on the doors. I brought 12 people to church. The first Sunday. And it's more of a deeper story than that, like pulling up and just seeing, I invited that person.
Right.
And blew my mind. And my first adult I ever brought to church was on the first day when I knocked for the doors for kids.
That's awesome.
It absolutely blew my mind, changed my life. And I looked 6 months later, I had brought 75 people to church in 6 months after
so
0.
awesome.
for all that
For
time.
20-something years.
And thousands of doors.
And I don't know if that was just God kind of putting a stamp and saying, yep, this is it.
Right.
I don't know.
That's awesome,
It doesn't
though.
make sense, quite frankly. It's like, how can that happen? How are you that bad at witnessing that you can't bring anybody in 20 years?
It's
funny.
It does happen.
But that moment changed how I looked at it. I'll never be the same.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Now, I was already deep in the weeds at that point, with Sunday school and stuff, but you could never talk me out of children's ministry
yeah.
again.
Oh,
That
yeah.
that moment cemented it. What is one lesson the two of you, or independently or together, have learned the hard way in children's ministry?
Oh, yeah. So this one's actually going to seem kind of comical to some people, but you know how kids are and keeping their attention and doing certain things. I was preaching a message. I say preaching a message. I was doing an object lesson, and I had the kids' attention, but some of them were talking. So my helpers began to pass suckers out to these kids, and I was close to being done. And I had an altar call right after that. And so they were up there, and this little girl is so funny. She had her hands raised. She had a sucker in her hand, and it was pointed up the ceiling. She's like, "I love you, Jesus." She put the sucker in her mouth and suck on it for a minute, and then she pull it back out. "I love you,
Oh,
Jesus."
help us, Lord.
So one of the lessons that I learned the hard way is don't hand suckers out right before altar call.
That sounds like Zach and the Balloons.
Yeah.
That was his
Oh,
big
my
mistake that he
goodness.
gave me
Oh,
for
really?
my session. Never hand balloons out right before class.
Yes,
It disrupt everything.
It's awful. That was one of them. Another one that I learned the hard way is not to treat this not to treat this with a lackadaisical attitude and think that they're just kids. You really have to think about them as souls. And I think that moment that clicked for me was, and it actually wasn't even a kid, it was a teenager. And it was one of our teens that were coming. And gang violence, they actually ended up killing this kid a few towns over. And how devastated everybody was and how devastated I was. But it was at that moment that it shifted for me from this is just children's ministry. I'm just a children's minister to know this is a ministry. This is a calling, and those are souls. And it was in that moment that it shifted for me, and I had to learn the hard way to not take it, lightly. This is very important. What
Absolutely.
we do.
How about you?
Well, we were discussing things like the suckers and not the serious one. We didn't talk about that. But during children's church, when we come to altar call, we have trouble. We have a lot in the altar. We also have a lot running around, and we run on a very short staff.
Surely not.
We call it controlled chaos.
It is chaos. Control
That was a
may be out the
joke, by the
window.
way. If you don't have some distracted kids, I don't know if you're really having Sunday school.
Go out and knock some more doors.
Yeah. If it's calmed down, you don't have enough new kids yet.
There you go.
So like I said, I think at that point I was more in the perspective of like, how can I help him? So I brought coloring pages and crayons. First time it worked great.
Yep.
Second time, it's pretty good. Third time, nobody was going to the altar. They were going to coloring tables. So we no longer do that. If I'm working the altars, I kind of still to this day have to close my eyes and, hope that one of the other teachers gets on too, okay? Because I'm trying to focus on praying with the one I'm with.
Yeah, we had to stop bringing coloring and coloring books in.
Well, you probably noticed what we did on Sunday morning with the snack. They only get it if they
Yes.
go through the correct
Yes.
door at the
Yes.
correct time.
And I may be
We're stealing that.
stealing that.
Yeah.
Well,
I noticed it.
Well, we have that back wall. It's just fabric.
Right.
So we have escapees constantly. We just don't, like you, we don't have enough bodies to keep them in.
Yep.
If they want to go out, they're going to go out.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
And so there's only so much we can do. The problem was it was a mass exodus. Altar call, whew, out the back door. And
Yep.
you'd have a couple hungry ones up front, and once they feel the vacuum, the ones that are even trying to pray
Right.
are done.
Oh, yeah.
And so it got really annoying. Like, how can we get them to stay? Like, okay, we're going to try this. We're going to try just raw bribery. All right?
Hey,
You will get a bag
it's
of
not
chips.
against the law or illegal or immoral. So
There you go.
Pastor Dwayne
It's
says
working.
if it's legal and it's moral, we'll try it. So
There you go. And it's not I don't think it's going to be a solve everything forever, but
Oh,
it has
yeah.
helped. It has helped.
hey, use it as long as you can,
Yep.
and then
We've done it about
when
4 or
it
5
doesn't,
weeks, and so far, so good.
yeah, I noticed it worked. They were all waiting. So that was,
And you can
I was
threaten
like,
them.
I'm
You have
using
one
it.
person at the curtain, and they're like, if you go, no snack.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
We'll
it
see.
does help.
we'll see. Anything helps. Let's see. How about you guys came? The whole purpose of your trip here was for the Southern California Commission, the Children's Ministry Conference.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And this is your second year?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And last year, was it last year you guys came?
It was.
Yes.
Okay.
We didn't come with the whole family last year, but yes.
No, it was just us testing the waters.
This is such a side note, but it seems to be that a prerequisite of being an effective children's minister is having a lot of kids.
We just didn't know.
We had all the speakers over at our house on Saturday night after
Yeah.
the conference. Brother Julian has 3. I have 4. You have 5. The lads have 4. 3?
Yes, 4.
The Leos have 4.
have 4.
Yeah, it was wild. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, is this like a requirement?
Right.
I
if you're going to be
mean,
effective. Well, it does give you patience and understanding. I mean,
Yes.
if nothing else. But I thought that was funny. So you guys are here. Sorry. And while
No,
you
you're
were
fine.
here,
Yes.
I saw your registration pop up, or you said in the chat. I was like, oh, if you're coming, we are going to use the fire out of these people as much as I can without feeling bad.
Right.
I feel like we heard that we were doing before we ever registered. So
I had a word. I think a little birdie told me. You must have told me that you're coming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I said, Brother Chris, no. I don't want to put more on you than you can bear.
I have
And
the text messages to prove it.
And I definitely don't want to, cut in to your receiving, what you're here
Right.
for. But I also want to tap into that experience.
Right.
And so we got to hear from you all. So what are some of the sessions that the two of you taught?
So we did Future Leaders together.
yes,
Brother Julian and I did one team, one mission, and how our bus ministry, Sunday school, and discipleship is all one team,
Right.
and how we're all working together. And then
To be fair, part of the reason I did lean so heavy is we went from 21 sessions to 30.
yes,
And so we had much more to cover, which is great, but also, oh no, now we need a ton more speakers.
well, also for those that are listening to the podcast, we are doing this again in October. It's October 17th and 18th.
And this is at your church.
My church, and so I kind of needed the experience to.
oh, so
That's why I didn't feel bad with the streaming, the audio,
yeah,
and all
yeah.
that.
That's nothing.
I still felt bad. But
No, that's nothing.
we have been writing notes all weekend, and
Yes.
it's definitely
This is what I need
a
to do at
very
home,
large topic of conversation right now.
I love it.
Yes. So let's see what else. did I
What
do?
every bus
what every
worker
bus
should
worker
know.
should know, and outreach that works, and then discipline or classroom management.
Yep. And then you did
I
ABCs
did.
of VBS.
Yes, ABCs of VBS and creating an inviting classroom on any budget.
Yep. And you guys are all overly qualified, if anything, on these topics. You guys,
my
I hear it
word.
on your podcast all the time of the amazing
Oh,
stuff you do.
Lord.
And of course, I've known your experience in bus ministry forever. But so this is an impossible question. But if you had the people that came, if you just had them leave with one thing put in them, what would it be?
I would say I hope they leave with a burden, a driving force of realizing how important this is.
Yeah.
Because when you begin to realize how important this is, and in one of my sessions I was talking about seeing judgment from mercy's point of view, and we were talking about the sons of Korah and how that they were spared from facing the same judgment, and all of a sudden they became the door greeters in the house of God. But when you can, as a minister, when you can begin to realize where these kids are coming from and the brokenness that they're coming from, it changes your perspective of how you're going to treat them. And so if they left with one thing, I hope it's, number one, with a burden, a renewed burden, or an increased burden for these children. Yep. But also realizing the reason why a lot of these kids are acting out is because of environmental issues. And if they can see that from that lens, so to speak, I think it'll change the way that they minister to these children.
I don't remember when we made the change, but we used to have the Friday night service as a inspiration for teachers, for the children's ministers. So it was someone preaching to us.
Right.
And that's kind of what we have done with Tyler, like Brother Hodge
right. The opening,
this year.
The opening. Well, we did it last year too.
Yes.
The opening, because your Pastor Joel Booker did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, if you haven't heard that.
Life-changing message.
It is.
It's all about the kids. But the reason I brought that up is that used to be Friday night.
Right.
And we thought, we don't want to lose that. But, I mean, that would go into a deep altar call a lot of times. It was like you know, people just laying in the altars for forever. And we didn't want to lose that.
Right.
And I feel like we did lose a piece of that. But we went to a children's service instead. The idea was, of course, that all of the people that attended could become a part and put some of the things they've already learned into practice.
Yes.
But more than anything is I wanted them to see this can happen at your church.
Right.
You can see kids full of the Holy Ghost.
Yes.
You can see it. You can see people work on the altars. You can see this. Everything you've seen or you've heard can be put into practice, and you can take this home.
Yes.
And Friday night, oh my goodness, it was so beautiful.
So awesome.
7 kids got the Holy Ghost.
Yes, one got baptized.
And so if you were at that service and unaffected, you must have a heart of stone. I mean, there's no way you could be in that and think children's ministry is a waste of time.
I looked around the room, and you could see the faces of those that were in the sessions, you know, for all day Friday, and sat in the session with Brother Julian when he did altar working, which man, I love watching that man work altars. I'd say he's anointed to do it because it's amazing. But you've seen some parents that came with the kids, and you've seen the tears falling down their face too. And we're talking about a kids service here, and you're praying for adults that are sitting in the room, and it's amazing. It
That's incredible. Yeah. So if they leave with nothing else, it's just that this is real ministry.
This is real. And you can, and it works wherever you go. You can duplicate this for yourself.
Yeah. In fact, in the administrator director class, the first chunk, I wanted to dispel the myth if you can't do this. I wanted to get that out of their brains.
Yes.
There are no super churches. There are no super children ministries. There are no skills that you don't possess. There are no special people that you don't have. You can do it if you prioritize this thing and just make it an obsession.
And you can start with one kid.
What is your favorite object lesson if you had to pick one?
Ooh.
I know it's not fair. It's what's your favorite kid? I get it.
I could tell you today. No, so
it's been a long day.
It's been a weekend.
I can tell you my least favorite too. Yeah. I'm joking.
No, it depends on the day. No, so I would say my favorite for ease and setting it up quickly, but having that whoa factor is the torn and restored newspaper. Because that costs you $2 and a glue stick and a little bit of pipe hanger, and you're done. And it's super simple. It takes you about 5 minutes to set up. But the wow factor on that one, to see you tear a newspaper completely into shreds, drop a few pieces on purpose just to prove that it's ripped, and then make it a whole again. It's just whoa. So I would say that's probably for ease my favorite to do that is not easy at all and that is super expensive and takes a whole lot of prep time is my pennies. Where you take the pennies from...
It's hard on your health.
From copper to silver
hard
to gold.
Hard on your time.
Well, you did that at our junior camp, and there are still kids with that penny.
Yes.
I still have it.
So I was in Seattle, Washington, and we were there with Brother Rick Mayo. And I forget, one of the kids, they walked up to me, Brother Bradshaw. He pulled his wallet out, and he said, I still have my penny.
It's so awesome.
Dude, I cried. And that's been 2019 when I did that object lesson.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a good one.
How about you? Do you have a favorite?
I don't do a lot of object
or skid or visual
object lessons. My favorite with the ACTS curriculum was the baking and like adding the kitty litter to it because I really dressed this one up. I don't know why I was able to think out of the box for this one, But
this is
making
the Tootsie Rolls and stuff.
Yeah, but
Yes.
she used grape nuts instead of kitty litter so that you could actually eat it.
I
It was
remember listening to that
so
podcast. I'm like,
hard.
that's next
It
level
was
stuff.
so hard to stay in character. I had a teacher like turning green and almost falling out on the floor.
Because she ate it.
Yeah, because I did. I ate it, and I was like, Sam, you're supposed to act like this is horrible. And I'm dying laughing, mostly because my teacher and my kids are just beside themselves. Because I was like, I had grabbed, we always give out chips in our room, so I grabbed a bag of chips. I was like, maybe this. I was like, no. I was like, oh, yeah, Fluffy was in here earlier. And I had this kitty litter box. Of course, I had it covered, but they couldn't see that because I pulled it out from behind something and I covered it. Anyway, it was a lot of fun to make. It was a lot of fun to present, and it's been my favorite lesson thus far in Acts curriculum. All of them are great, but I don't know. I don't know how I come up with doing it quite that way, but it was awesome.
That's why I love object lesson. I think Sister Kim Pelletier wrote that one initially. Yeah, it was either her or James, but I think it was Sister Kim. I'm almost positive. But I love it when people don't just say, oh, that's the only way it can be done.
Right.
But they up the ante or make it better or change it completely sometimes. And I said this in the last recording with Brother Zach, but
You proved that this week.
well, that's what I was about to bring up. We did an object lesson hands-on. They took these known lessons with these kind of baked in. This is the only way to teach them. Not really, but sometimes it's how people think. And I said, you cannot use it the way you know to use it. You have to change it up. And I'm telling you, they blew my mind with how good they're, in 5 minutes, they came up with it that fast.
And now
so-
you want to change the way that you usually do it.
Oh, I'm changing it completely. A couple
I
of them.
know.
Their ideas were far better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I walked in on this session because he was right before the ABCs of VBS, and it took me a half a second because I knew you were doing objects lessons, and then I figured out what he was doing. I'm like, wow, this is really cool, because then they also got to learn how, like, there was people here that don't do maybe children's ministry quite as much, and they were getting up there and they were doing great.
Let's go to Acts curriculum super fast.
Okay.
If you do have a better idea, send it to us.
Yes.
Please, please, please. There's a feedback QR code at the back. Scan that and send it to us, or send us an email. Whatever you can do, just send us your ideas. If it's a better way of doing it, changing it up. The first one, Building Blocks of Faith, has probably changed 50 times.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
There's no
sure.
telling. I mean,
I know you sent the updated PDF out, and I was comparing it to the one of the original ones that we had because we were a pilot church.
Yep.
And I was comparing it. I was like, whoa, a whole lot has changed.
a whole lot. But that's based on, because part of the testing agreement
Right.
was, you guys please give us feedback.
Yeah, we didn't give you as good as much feedback as we should have.
No, but between the 12 churches, we got plenty.
Right.
It was great.
That's
we didn't
good.
expect everybody to do it every week, but we did get enough to make all those changes.
Yes.
Problem is, we don't have testing churches now. And so it's few
so
and
you
far
have to
between. So
really
the
put
first
it out.
The first one revised a lot. The second one,
Right.
unless I catch it, it's not changing.
Yeah.
So please, if you're hearing this, send us ideas.
Yes.
We
to
will
make
keep it
better.
noted. We're
Yeah.
keeping it noted.
How do you go about bridging the gap between fun, engaging, and still ending in a powerful altar call?
In Sunday school, I teach 9 and 10, and I've heard a lot of others saying that this is a hard group to do, altar call. And I don't know why that is. We can get serious, but it seems like engaging in the altar call is a struggle. So when I figure out something that really works, I'll pass it on. But for children's church, we're starting where we do kind of like this plug-in. We have fun, high intensity. And then we'll bring it down like, okay, the time to shift gears, we're going to plug in. And that seems to be working for us. And this time we're like trying to we're in the middle of making a plug-in segment.
Yes. Which is new to us. We haven't done this before.
Because, we're always learning and trying to make it better.
Can you help me understand that a little better? Plug-in segment? What is
Yeah. So basically, just where we're getting everybody. So we've been swinging off the chandeliers this whole time. We're doing
I
these
got it.
action songs.
A
We're doing
transitional.
A transition
I got it.
of hey, it's time to focus. Here comes the most important part of the service.
Yep.
And so it's just that transitional moment to where we get them just super high energy.
Yep.
Tearing the room up to okay, everybody sit down. Everybody's focused now. So
a really good example of that was what Brother Hodge did with the worship song
Yes.
on Friday night. It was fun, goofy. We did our cookies. I mean, it was nuts. Hopefully, we still taught
Yes, that
something.
is correct. It was nuts.
It was so crazy. Then he went into a worship song.
Yes.
The whole atmosphere changed with the first few notes. You could just feel it.
Yep, it did.
But the kids were still
Yeah.
jamming. They were still having fun. They're
Yep.
still worshiping.
Yep.
But
And
it
they don't
still
even
helped
realize
bring it
what's
down.
happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
It brought it down and eased it in where you guys could do yours.
Yes.
But it had brought the energy where it could
Needed
flow
to
into an
be.
altar call. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be a song, but that's a really good way.
And wow,
Yeah,
what an altar call.
We did that about a month ago, and it did help doing the worship
did.
song second.
Yep.
Do you remember at Kingdom Kids one year? It was the year you were there when Tyler sang a song. We had never sang it before. It's called "Rescue Me" by
Yes.
Group.
Yes.
I had never heard it, and I'm telling you, when it played, I mean, we could have had an altar call right then.
Yeah.
And if you're at Summit, you know it is off the chain, crazy sword fights, nuts,
Yes.
jokes.
Beating people with bats.
It's wild. Not every year. I remember when that song hit, it was a moment.
It really was.
And the whole complexion of the night changed.
It did.
And what was cool was the kids were totally on board with it.
Yep.
Like they're like, all right, cool. All right. And then they shifted into that mode. And I don't remember who followed it with an altar call, but it was great. It was such a learning moment for me to think, wow, I knew it was important. I knew it was powerful. But man, music's powerful.
It is.
It really is.
Especially if you can have like Friday night live music on your altar calls, because
Yeah.
you know your live musicians, if they're anointed, if they're submitted, if they're hooked up, they can feel the room. And you know, I forget who had run it, but they had asked, you know, you want live music, you want something played, and I was like, I prefer live. And they're like, well, what song do you want? And I was like, no. That's your ministry. That this is your part to plug in with us. And man, did they ever! And
Yeah, it was
wow,
really
what an
good.
altar call!
Yeah. Now, if you're in your class, you may not have the luxury of having a live band.
Nope.
We don't.
We don't. Yeah, well, we don't.
I wish we did.
We don't either for
I was
children's
gonna
church.
say we're
Yeah.
working on transitioning
We're
into
trying.
that with
Yep.
future leaders and trading off.
Yep.
Yeah. So you can do tracks, but you have to have someone that's even monitoring that tight and
Yes.
playing the right one. And when that song ends, prayer ends sometimes.
It does. No,
So I
no,
tell
not
him,
sometimes.
Most of the times.
I tell him that thing better loop
Yeah.
instantly.
And
like
even
a
if it
fade.
loops, it's not always good either.
And if you're doing it on Spotify, do a 12-second crossfade. Like
Yes,
that
for
thing
real.
should not have any dead air because kids, they instantly look around like, oh, prayer must be over because the song ended.
Yep. They open their eyes
Yes.
immediately.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Spotify let me down, Children's Church Before Last.
no. Oh,
because
no.
the song was only on Spotify and it was playing some random song. I'm looking at the song. It was, yeah.
Yeah, it was brutal.
It just changes the mood. You
It
got to be
does.
careful.
Yeah, that's not good. So team, let's just talk about teamwork for a minute. So you guys are in leadership in various areas. How do you build, retain strong volunteers within children's ministry? Like, how do you recruit, or does it happen organically, or do you actively recruit?
I wish it happened organically. Sometimes
it does.
Sometimes it does. But for us right now, we're actually recruiting from within with our Future Leaders program. We have help, but it's not quite enough help. Sometimes our ratio kids to helpers is way off.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So we want to remain safe at all times. We want our kids to be safe at all times. We want accountability at all times. And so we're actually recruiting from within with our Future Leaders program right now. But I will say we have a core few that have been with us for a really long time. So you have like Jarrett and Carly West. They've been in there for a really long time. She's usually over our action songs and what we call big church songs. So we'll.
If we had a staff shift, and I'm so sad because Brother Jarrett, we've started incorporating the plan of salvation chant into children's church. So we bring in familiar segments from like Sunday school into children's church to kind of keep some
continuity.
Yeah, continuity.
So
That's exactly the word.
We've been bringing in, things from the Acts curriculum that we're already doing, our scriptures, our chants and stuff like that. We've been bringing those into children's church with us to keep it the same flow and it's actually worked out really well.
But they were like beatboxing it and really get down with it. And unfortunately, due to staffing issues, Brother Jarrett's not going to be able to be in children's church with us for the time being.
Yeah.
And they plugged in, and now the kids are expecting it.
But as far as retaining, if you can get your teachers to fall in love with the various segments that you're giving them, and they really enjoy doing it, and they actually like really own it, then it's not hard to retain them because they fall in love with what they're doing.
So with switching to Acts curriculum, we were talking about this. So retaining staff, sometimes change, switching curriculums and doing something new is hard.
Growth pains. It's never easy.
So sometimes allowing your staff to be uncomfortable with the change and allowing them to like get used to it or grow with it, and you grow as a leader as you're allowing them to, let that change be hard and we're working towards the same goal. Just focusing that the goal is still the same. The goal is to see the kids saved. As we do different transitions, I feel like that's been huge. It's made a huge shift in at least my Sunday school team.
Yeah.
It was hard to go through, but on this side of it, I wouldn't go back.
Right.
And so, sometimes you change things up, you go through the struggle of changing it, and you grow together as a team, and you're better on the other side.
Yeah. I think it was a book I was reading or a podcast. I can't remember. I get it all scrambled in my brain.
You slept since then.
Yeah. But the three pieces of volunteers is gain, train, and retain.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we concentrate on the first two, and then that retaining part can be a little kind of pushed in the background. You kind of forget about it a little bit. So I'm trying to make that a better focus on, for me personally. This is me. Is I want to show them that I care about them, I appreciate them.
Right.
And oh my goodness, I don't have time to go into all this. But part of what we did in that administrators and directors class is talking about how, what if you knew you could never get rid of a teacher that was not pulling their weight or wasn't trying? Because there was a company,
a great point.
They made a ruling: no one can ever be fired from our company ever. Unless moral failure or undermining a coworker. Those are the only two things. Other than that, poor performance, none of it mattered. You could never fire them. And so everybody's like, I can't, this is a joke. Can't believe this. Everybody's all upset. And their company increased 60% the next year. So I was trying to connect that to children's ministry. What if you knew that teacher had to be helped?
Right.
You couldn't just push them aside and not use them. You had to use them.
Right.
You would focus on them. You'd train them. You'd do whatever you had to do to make them better because you can't fire them.
Yes.
If you were in Brother Baker's sessions, especially about training and recruiting and burnout, he's unbelievable.
I do the beast, man. It's crazy.
I think it was John Wooden, the coach, and he would watch his team. And he would just watch him. He wouldn't tell him what to do. He just in practice, and he'd find the sweet spot on the court where everybody shot best from.
Oh, yes.
And he'd just keep tracking it.
Yeah.
Till he's go and draw a circle, and say, "This is your circle, Chris. This is your circle.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to shoot anywhere but that circle.
Yeah.
But my job as coach is to get you in that circle.
Yes.
So I'm going to draw a play that's going to end you up there.
Yep.
I'm going to get you in your sweet spot.
And then you're going to get the ball.
And you're going to get the ball, and you're going to make it.
Yep.
Because you're good.
Yeah.
And so he likened that to Sunday school and children's ministry is people have a sweet spot.
Yes.
Now you stretch them, you still, you want them to try everything.
Of course.
But you try it and you find people graduate or, they tend to find themselves better at one thing than another. And he said in Sunday school, once you find their sweet spot, they don't camp there.
Oh, no.
But you can really, and now it's my job as a director, as a children's minister, as a scheduler, to put them in that sweet spot and make them shine.
Yes.
Because we want to win. I mean, that's the whole point. We want to win these kids.
And you want them to, be effective as well.
But when they fall in love with that, they literally own that. And that becomes a part of their ministry, a part of who they are. And when they do that, they'll pray for it. They'll fast for it. They'll push for it. So,
yep. Gaining ownership. If you can get the people that you work with to own it. All right, we're going to move through some of this quick. What's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you guys in children's ministry?
It's some of the fails that we've done with object lessons.
If you haven't failed at an object lesson, you're not trying.
Yeah, this one was bad because I was trying to do the bleach and iodine, but I didn't realize that you had to have the iodine. And so I was trying to use something else, and it was an utter fail. One of the kids were like, they stood up and were like, that didn't work. For like a month, the kids were like, is this one going to work? Is this one going to work?
How do you stay spiritually fresh without being burned out?
You're Christian first.
Yep.
Before your children's ministry, you're Christian first. So if your prayer life, if your fasting is off, everything else is going to be off. So if you want to stay connected spiritually, you have to stay a Christian first and realize that before any of this, I was a rank sinner. Before any of this, I needed God. And you have to keep that relationship the main thing, and everything else will fall into place.
My brother tells a story of God fills you up for the sole purpose of pouring you out again, but you can't be poured out if you're not full.
Yep.
And then I just saw Brother Pelletier's title. I haven't even listened to the podcast yet, and it was basically a sponge.
Yes.
You can't be wrung out if you're not full.
Yep.
So I haven't even listened to it, but I'm like, okay, that's got to be what that's about. It's got to be.
Absolutely.
It is.
Got to be full to be used.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, sir.
But I would say if you want to stay spiritually connected, you also have to stay submitted to your man of God.
Man, Brother Baker, I keep going back to what I heard another thing he said this weekend.
He had a lot of good things to say this weekend.
Well, he's talking about that he himself, Brother Baker, is full of ideas and he's very creative. He wasn't bragging on himself. He's making a point.
Right.
He said, and I would take that to my pastor and say, what about this? Why don't we do this? And he said, they're not all bad ideas. He said, it's actually, a good thing if you have a good idea. He said, but then I realized, wait a second. It's his vision I'm supposed to be following. He's not supposed to be following mine.
Right.
He said, I had it all backwards. I was thinking, it's all mine. I have to come up with the vision, and pastor has to okay it.
Yeah.
He said, no. And once I realized that, I would go to him, okay, pastor, what do you want?
And you know what's funny is I found that to be true in my life too. And at that moment when I decided that I was going to swap over, it's hilarious because then all of a sudden my ideas, he's like, bro, whatever you want to do is fine with me. But up to that point, I was meeting, I don't want to say resistance because he's if you know my pastor, man, Pastor Dwayne Ozell, I love the man to death. He is a soul winner through and through. But I found that to be true in my life at that moment when I walked to him and I finally fully submitted to him and I began to find that my ideas and stuff that I had, he was like, let's do it. And it just became so much easier in that moment because I became fully submitted.
I think our saying for 2025 is check your burden. If you're noticing yourself a little off, I'd say examine yourself first.
Yes.
If you find that's all good, then what's going on with your burden?
Yep. What's your driving factor?
Yeah. Maybe revisit it and see what you feel with some time and prayer put into it.
So I mentioned this to the Leals as well, but you guys spend a lot of money to come out here.
Yes, sir.
You
Just
have
a little bit.
a big family, and I don't know how much it costs, but I can guess, and it wasn't cheap. With all that said, you guys did that so you could come to a conference that you're already good at. You guys are already really good at Children's Church, already really good at Sunday School, already really good at Best Ministry, but you spent a lot of money to come out and get just that incrementally better. Mm-hmm. Why do you think it's so important for people to come to these type of events if you're involved, whether it's children's ministry or any other ministry, but just trying to get better?
So one thing that when we first got into this, you can feel isolated. We're the weird ones at church, because we're dressing up funny, we're doing these action songs, and you know what I mean. And you can start to feel like I'm the only one that is out there. But when you come to a conference like this, when you come to Summit and you get in the room with people who think like you, people who have your same burden, people who have that same driving passion, it reignites a fire in you that I can't even really put it into words what it does. You're leaving exhausted in body, but so refreshed in spirit because I'm coming and I'm allowing other people to pour into me and to pour their passion into me and pour their burden into me. And when I begin to do that, it makes me a better children's minister, but also I don't have all the answers. But I know I am connected to people who have been through some of the things that I'm going through right now, and I can, through networking, reach out to them and be like, how did you fix this? and they begin to pour into me what's working for them, and I can implement that into my ministry and watch as it begins to work because it's tried and true.
It never ceases to blow my mind that the people who are already at the top of their field are the ones that are trying the hardest to learn more.
Oh, yeah.
But the ones that need it the most are the ones so resistant to learning.
Yeah.
All the best in children's ministry, they're the ones attending these things. They're the ones trying to get better. They're the ones buying the books. They're the ones listening to all the podcasts.
Yep.
And I'm looking at them like, you're getting just a little degree better when people that really need it would improve dramatically, but they don't even take the time to bother.
Iron sharpeneth iron.
Yep. I just think that's such an amazing concept, but it's not just in children's ministry. The best preachers are the ones that study the hardest. The best preachers are the ones that go to the conferences. The best preachers are the ones that have the circle of friends that make themselves better. I just find that fascinating.
Yeah, so cool.
Without growth, we become stagnant.
And stagnation breeds disease.
Yep. And again, I can't remember which book it was, but I was reading a book about this guy. He was talking. It was finances, all finances. But he was talking about the best people in the world invest in themselves.
Yes.
And they recommend 3%. So if you want to, in your field, whatever it is, invest 3% of your income back into you, whether books or training ministry or training seminars like this. And he said the people that do that end up earning more money.
Yes.
And far more than 3%.
Yep.
And so I just think that's fascinating. If you think that same concept in ministry,
Yes.
Cut yourself a piece of your income every month. I'm going to use this for something to make myself better.
Yeah.
I just think that's such a cool concept.
We've implemented that in our own lives, in our own ministry, and it's almost mind-boggling how that is a true concept even in the spiritual realm.
We are almost done. I do have some quick kind of rapid fire stuff. You ready?
Okay.
All right. Favorite action song?
In Jesus' name.
Same.
600 steps if you're curious how many steps you get while you're doing the actions.
That's a long song. That's like a 7-minute.
If that tells you if we like it or not, we know the amount
So
of
maybe
steps.
it was raining one day and I was shy more than thousands of steps behind.
There you go. Just sing it a couple times.
now I know.
Good. Overall, what is the most overused object lesson?
First one that comes to mind is the dry erase board with the permanent marker, and our kids all know it. And I went to go use it last time, and it's very effective for the thought, but we're gonna have to tuck it away for a while.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I would say probably that one or the bleaching iodine because it's so easy to do.
All right. What's your go-to Sunday morning to get you in the mode for teaching? Is it caffeine? If so, what form?
It's usually breakfast burritos, and currently I'm doing sugar plum pre-workout, California styles, definitely Dutch Bros, and
for sure.
Ghost if I run out of time and I'm
The Ghost Energy
got to
drink.
run by the gas station.
Mine's NOS. It's either NOS or Grape NOS. So my taste buds haven't died enough for coffee yet.
All right. What is one thing you wish some children's ministers would just stop?
Stop comparing themselves. We didn't even talk
You guys
about
didn't even
it.
talk about this?
No, not that
Well
one.
done.
No.
Puppets or skits? What's your favorite?
Skits. But we're trying to break
after this
into puppets.
weekend, Puppets is up there, even though we've only brought them in one time.
So we're going to go home and build one. Don't worry, we'll sacrifice our couch.
I wish everybody could see those puppets in person.
Oh, my word.
No,
I thought I knew what puppets look like. No, I had no idea.
These puppets are next level. So, yeah.
So Glenda and Drew Fields from Bakersfield, California
New
came and did a
besties,
puppet
I'm just telling
session.
you.
Unbelievable. Handmade all their own puppets, and they are like full body puppets. Like
They
you
are.
wear their puppets, and one of them's a dragon that was how long? What, 8 feet, 6, 8 feet long?
Yes, sir.
No, but it's
With-
the eyes
with working eyeballs
blink
And
it
smoke
comes-
that comes out
And
its
smoke
nose.
comes out, and the eyes glow too.
It's bonkers. It is
Phenomenal.
next level stuff.
Well, they're just next level people, though.
They're awesome. What would you go back and tell yourself before you started children's ministry and just wish you had known back then what you know now?
dive in. Don't wait. Get the burden.
How about you?
I say this all the time. Treat it like your pastor treats his pulpit.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, I heard that from you once or twice this weekend.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's a great.
Just
we
trying
have
to
a few
relay my
things on
burden.
I love
repeat. Leave it all on the field.
Leave it all in the field.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much
Yes, sir.
for being with us, not just on the podcast, but this whole weekend. It has been such a
Well,
blast
thanks for
to
having us.
hang out with y'all.
I know it.
But we'll see you in October in person.
Yes.
And Summit first.
September
huh?
1st.
Yeah, we got a lot going on.
We do.
Yeah,
We got to start planning.
we booked rooms already this
Yep.
weekend while we was together.
Yes.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we will catch y'all later. God bless everybody. And we'll see you next time.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for hanging out with us again on Apostolic Children's Ministry Podcast. Like we always say, we're not claiming to be experts, but we are certainly passionate about children's ministry. Everything we talk about on here, it's something that we're working on ourselves, and if it helps someone else along the way, that's just a bonus. But don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at apostolicsundaySchool.com/APN, and we'll see you next time. God bless, and send us any criticisms, feedback that you can on info@apostolicsundaySchool.com, and we would greatly appreciate the input. God bless. We'll catch you next time.